Who's the most underrated player at the moment?
I think the most underrated is still Sipnix. Like, people think he's a bad player, but he's really wise. But his AWP game, he can AWP. I've seen it on FPL. He can pistol, he can clutch, he can think for himself, he can help teammates. I think he's a really good player.
I have no idea. I don't know who is. I feel like most players nowadays that are in top teams people are recognized for what they're good at. Maybe the only one I would say is probably RPK, because you get so much shit for no reason.
I would have to say Breeze again, because he doesn't have the much media or attention as the biggest players, but he still plays very consistently like those players.
Maybe Crims. I think people don't understand his potential. I mean, they have seen it, but I think he's kind of not going to reach it again, I guess. People don't really talk about him as a big game player anymore, and I think he will prove them wrong.
Probably my teammate Dexter. I reckon he's insane. He's like a really good player.
I would say I might actually go with Alex at the moment. Partly because it's very hard to rate someone who's an in-game leader. Like, that's the skill that is the most sort of buried under everything else that's happening. Most of the time you're not going to get even half the credit that you deserve. But he does the fragging as well, which is kind of outrageous. And his French is obviously great, but still, he's playing, I guess, outside of his region in some sense. So yeah, I think my pick would be Alex. I'm sort of continuously impressed by what he does.
There's a couple different ways you can go with this. As an NA guy, as kind of someone who's enjoyed watching Liquid's rise in dominance for a few months, Nitro obviously took a long time, I think, for people to realize kind of how much he was contributing. So I think that's still something where he's surrounded by Twist, he's surrounded by Liege, he's surrounded by Stewie. There's so many other talking points around him that it's kind of hard to give him the credit he deserves when you do some kind of an analysis segment. But he's turned into a phenomenal in-game leader. You can throw Alex in there as well from Vitality, the transition he's made. I kind of generally have a soft spot as someone looking from the outside on players who have had to transition to the difficult roles of an in-game leader, or the supportive players who don't get enough credit. I still think Xyp9x in some aspects is pretty underrated as well, despite the fact that we all praise him all the time for his clutching, but even outside of his clutches, he's incredible.
The most underrated player in the world to me is Glaive, and I'm a bit biased here. I think he deserves all the credit in the world for what he's done with Astralis. I think without him, Astralis would never be consistently good as they are right now. Obviously, they have a lot of talent surrounding Glaive, both in terms of the players on the team, the coach in Sonic, and the whole infrastructure behind the organization, that being Astralis. But Glaive, and I had the honor to play with him for 2 or 3 years as well. He's the only player that I ever sensed has an extraordinary feeling for the game. I think he's by far one of the smartest players when it comes to reading the game, when it comes to calling, when it comes to basically anything surrounding CSGO. He's not the smartest guy outside of the game. Not saying he's dumb or anything. He's just to me quite an average guy. A very normal person. But when he gets inside the game, for whatever reason, he just has a magic touch on it, and I've always respected that a lot from Glaive. So in that sense, that's the guy I underrate the most, I guess, or people around, because they don't really know that. They just see them winning, and they don't really know how to attribute that.